Hi friends, welcome back if you've seen our videos before, and if you're new, my name is Abby, and today we are going to be doing a very spooky book tag. Since we are in the week leading up to Halloween, it is time to do a very spooky book tag. It's brand new this year. I would say it's brand new, but I'm actually a little bit behind on filming this, so it's been out for a bit at this point. But I knew I needed to do it before Halloween was over, so I'm doing it today. I'm very excited, and this is the All Hallows Eve book tag. This was created by the lovely Lydia over at Vintage Nectarines, and she, along with Amber from Magical 5 and Nicole from Irresistible Magic, all posted this on the same day to like announce it and bring it to the world, and I was super excited, and Lydia was kind enough to tag me in her video, so I'm really excited to do this. It's a Halloween-inspired book tag, which you guys know I love a book tag. I love a seasonal book tag, so I'm really hyped. I've got some great books to talk about. Let's get started. Also, before I forget to mention it, I don't think I'm gonna tag anybody properly to do this because it is like Halloween is basically here at this point. But if you want to do it and just like keep it going into November, that's totally fine. You can say I tagged you. I just wanted to put it out there. I don't think I'm gonna properly tag anyone because I'm late to the party, a little bit late to the party on this, so. Yeah. Prompt number 1 is I put a spell on you. And the prompt for this is to pick a book with witches. Now I thought long and hard about this, and I think I came up with like the perfect answer, but I did have to think a long time about this because I could say Harry Potter, but that felt too easy. I could say How to Train Your Dragon, the series, because there's a witch towards the end, but is she really a witch? I'm not sure. She's just called the witch. So I came up with a good answer that I'm very happy with, and that is The Herb Witch's Apprentice by Irene Chow. This was such a fun read. I read this back in August, I think, and it's just like a lovely, cozy, sweet little book. It's all about a girl who discovers when she is 17 that she is actually a witch, but witches are outlawed. She's also been brought into like the season, which is basically where all of the young ladies of the kingdom kind of come to basically finish their training as proper young ladies. So she and her stepsister are there, and they have the sweetest relationship. I love them so much. And she also meets and kind of falls in love with the younger prince, and it's great. I loved it so much. It's just wholesome and sweet and fun. The witches in this book are super fun. The herb witches do like potions, and then there's the other ones that do like more practical magic, like they can make things look like other things, but I can't remember what they're called. Doesn't really matter. It's fun, it's fluffy, and this is the weirdest comparison ever, but I stand by it. If you loved Barbie movies, you're gonna love this book. It has all the Barbie movie feels, and it's magical, and I loved it. The OG Barbie movies, not the new ones. I honestly haven't watched the new ones, so I can't speak to their qualities. But like Nutcracker, Rapunzel, Swan Lake, 12 Dancing Princesses Barbie movies, that's the vibe I'm talking about. Okay. Number 2 is Something Lurks Under the Bed, a book with monsters or creatures. And I'm gonna be honest, this prompt just put This Is Halloween from Nightmare Before Christmas into my head because I was thinking of the line like, I am the one who hiding under your bed, teeth ground sharp and eyes glowing red. I am the shadow on the moon at night, filling your dreams to the brim with fright. I am the who in the call, who's there? I actually think I got that mixed up. I don't know the way that the verse goes, but that's what it made me think of. So for this one, I did have to think about this one a while because I have like books with dragons, but I don't necessarily know that that would count. I guess it would, but this is one that I thought of, and I'm gonna go with it. That is These War-Torn Hands by Emily Hayes, and this book has these creatures that are called Isarks, and from the description, to me, they sound like a mix of like a dragon and like a pterodactyl. They sound creepy as all get out, and we do fight a few of them throughout this story, but they make like brief appearances. It's not like they're a major plot point or anything, but like they do make appearances throughout the story, and they basically come and steal sheep and stuff. They're like the wolves of this world. So basically this book is a King Arthur retelling, but set in the Wild West. It's like the Old West, but it's a fantasy world. We're following Rosamund Lacey, who is going west to marry Archer Scott, who's like the governor of this area, but along the way she is kidnapped by Archer's nemesis Alexander Mortimer, and so it's like an adventure story of like getting away from Mortimer, but also saving Glory Mesa and like There's a lot of stuff going on. It was a super fun ride. I really enjoyed it, but the Izarks are definitely a monster I would not want to encounter, for sure. Prompt number 3 is blood type. Makes me want to say it like a vampire, because the prompt is a book with vampires or a murder mystery. If you're new here, you might not know, but if you're not, you probably do know. I have been on an Agatha Christie kick all year, but one that I read really recently fit this prompt perfectly because that is Halloween Party. This one is a Poirot mystery. Basically at this Halloween party in this town, like a 13-year-old girl, I think, she's pretty young, she's found drowned in the apple bobbing tub, and it's pretty much assumed that somebody drowned her in the tub. It's not like it wasn't an accident. It was pretty clearly murder. So Poirot is called in by a friend to investigate and figure out what happened, and I'm happy to report I did call the killer on this one, and I felt very proud of myself for that. Very proud of myself. That's only happened a couple of times in all of these Agatha Christie books that I've read, but I did figure this one out, and I felt very proud of that. Prompt number 4 is Trick or Treat, a book that is sweet or features a sweet shop or bakery. I thought of one that clears both of those prompts, and it is one that I read pretty recently as well, and that is More Than Words Can Say by Karen Whittemire. This is the second book in her Patchwork Family series, and it was just so cute. We follow Abigail, who owns the bakery in town. She inherited it from her father. It's like the 1800s. I don't remember the exact year, but the year is not important. Basically, she inherited the bakery from her father. She and her sister run it together. At the beginning of the story, the town council has come to her and said basically, like, you're not married, your father's dead, if you don't have a man's name on the lease by the end of the month, we're shutting you down. Which, like, so dumb, but whatever. So Abigail is quick to jump on a plan to get a man's name on the lease, and to do that, she basically proposes this business marriage to Zach Hamilton, who we meet in the first book, and this is like his love story, and I loved that. But basically is like, all right, if you marry me, you don't have to do anything. You're like, you can live your own life, basically. You don't have to feel any obligation. I just need your name on the lease. So he agrees to this marriage, but little does Abigail know, Zach is super into her. It's a really sweet love story. I love a marriage of convenience trope. I think it's just really wholesome when characters are married and they're like friends, but then they develop feelings for each other. It was really cute. I loved it a lot. I actually cried a couple of times because it was just really sweet and wholesome. It had a really great message and a really powerful story, and it was great. I loved it. I loved it, I loved it. I loved the whole duology, but this one I think I might have preferred a little bit to the first one, which I did really like the first one, but I think I preferred this one. Prompt number 5 is Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice, a cozy fall book or a book that features fall. So for this one, my immediate thought was Anne of Green Gables, but I thought that's too easy. I don't want to go that route. So I actually thought of one that's very similar to Anne of Green Gables, but it's not, and that is Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. I love this book. If you've never read this book, I can't recommend it enough, especially if you love Anne and Avonlea. I think you will also love Rebecca. I put off reading this one for a long time when I was a kid because I thought it was a ripoff of Anne. Turns out Anne came out 5 years after this one, and Anne is set in Canada. This one's set in New England, in the US, and so they're really not that similar, other than the heroines are very similar. Anne and Rebecca definitely have a lot in common. Basically, this one follows a plucky girl named Rebecca. Her mother has, like, I think they have 7 kids. Her father has recently passed away, and her mother sends Rebecca to live with her, like, spinster aunts in this tiny town because they can pay for her room and board and education. So it's like she's basically like sending her out to have a better life than what her mother can provide for her right now. And so we follow Rebecca as she goes to this small town and basically just like transforms everybody inside of it, including her aunts. There's also a gorgeous description of like September, October in here that's like one of my favorites ever. And I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers, don't get me wrong. I love Anne still, but Rebecca is just so much fun and I loved her, and I highly recommend this one. It's by Kate Douglas Wiggin. 10 out of 10, recommend. Prompt number 6 is All Hallows Eve, a book with a lot of characters, or that features characters in costume. So I had to think long and hard about this one, and honestly, if I'm real with you, I think I came up with the perfect answer. I was very proud of thinking of this answer, okay? Very proud of it. I'm gonna go with Meet Molly by Valerie Tripp. This is the first book in the Molly series. It's an American Girl series. I loved these books when I was a kid. My favorite was Felicity, but I did really love Molly because I looked like Molly as a kid. Like, seriously, I had glasses, I had dark brown hair, My hair was curlier than Molly's. I think hers is straight, but still. We look pretty much the same. But the reason I thought of this one is because of this. Look at this. It takes place at Halloween time. So we have full scenes of Molly and her friends and her brother all getting dressed up for Halloween. And there's also this infamous scene because Ricky is the worst. No one likes you, Ricky. Calm down, okay? No one likes you. This was like the perfect answer. I remembered one of these books took place at Halloween, but I couldn't remember which one it was. Turns out it's book number 1. So I was flipping through them trying to find that illustration, and I remembered that actually I think this book in newer printings of it has Molly in her Hawaiian dancer Halloween costume, which I know is culturally insensitive, but it was the 40s, so what are you gonna do? But anyway, I loved this series when I was a kid, and this first book takes place at Halloween time, so perfect. Prompt number 7 is Fright Night, a book that scared you or that turned out differently than you thought. So I'm a wimp, I'll be honest with you. I'm a wimp when it comes to like scary things in books. Murder mysteries don't really bother me. I don't know what it is. It's like murder doesn't scare me, but like supernatural things tend to scare me more, I think. But one book that I remember totally freaked me out, but I loved it, was The Night Gardener by Jonathan Auxier. It's been a hot minute since I read this one. I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago now that I read it, but I really enjoyed it. It basically follows these two, I think they're orphans, and they get offered a job working at this mysterious mansion with this mysterious family who all seem to be like sick, and the kids can't really figure out why all these family members, something's off about them, they don't seem well, and they can't figure it out. There's also this creepy tree that's like growing into the house, and it's super spooky. The atmosphere is amazing, the writing style is really cool, and I actually read this one in like July when I read it. I remember thinking like halfway through, I probably should have saved this for Halloween time, but also I'm too hooked now, I can't stop, so I read it, I really liked it a lot, but it freaked me out. Gave me full chills. It was really creepy, but it was really great. And it's not super scary, it's just like unsettling. Like it's just, something's off in the whole thing until the very end where all the reveals happen and you're like, I can't tell what's wrong here, but that's also what the kids are trying to figure out. It's a middle grade, it's a mystery, it's spooky, I really liked it. That's my answer for this question. Prompt number 8, A Haunting We Will Go, a book that features a haunted house. So for this one, listen, I don't mean to talk about this series in every video. I really don't. It's not even like one of my like all-time favorites. I did really love it, but like it's not like the best series ever, but it just keeps coming up and it's too perfect. I can't not mention Lockwood & Co. I'm sorry. This is The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. It's book 1 in the Lockwood & Company series, which you guys have probably heard me talk about 1,000,001 times, but this one particularly features like a haunted house. That's the whole plot of like the second half of this book, is that Lockwood & Co. are called in to investigate the most haunted house in England. So like, I had to. This follows Lucy Carlyle. She lives in an alternate London where ghosts are real and only young people can see them, so they've been drafted into these agencies who go in and find the ghosts and find their sources and destroy them. And in this first book, she joins up with this agency called Lockwood & Co., which is a very small agency, and they are hired to investigate, what is it called? Combe Carey Hall, which is the most haunted house, one of the most haunted houses in England, and to figure out the source. This one also could have applied for the book that scared you, because oof, is that last half scary. Like, there's some spooky stuff going on in that house. Anyway, I loved it. Prompt number 9 is Superstitious Bad Luck, a book with a black cat or that features cats. I actually had to think like a while about this one because I don't feel like I've read a ton of books that like feature cats. I know a ton of like cozy mysteries have cats on the cover. I haven't yet read one that does, but I thought of one that I read fairly recently that features a white cat, but it's a talking cat. So it's super fun. Gilded in Ice by Sarah Pennington. This is the second book in the Bastian Denel PI series. It's like a detective noir story, but they're also fairy tale retellings, but it's also like Jazz Age inspired fantasy world vibes. It's super great. I love this series. This is the second book. It just came out. It was one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and I'm happy to report it did not disappoint. This is a mashup of two of my favorite underrated fairy tales, Snow White and Rose Red and East of the Sun, West of the Moon. Basically, we follow Bastian Denel, who we meet in the first book. Business kind of taken off a little bit since the events of the first book, and the mystery of this one is that his sister has gone missing. At the same time, he is hired to solve a missing persons case, and that's not his sister, like it's somebody else. So he's trying to figure out if those two things are connected, what they have to do with one another. It was kind of predictable, but also I loved it, so I didn't mind at all. Like, I loved the characters, I loved the world, I loved getting to explore it more, as opposed to the first one where we didn't really get to see a ton of it. Like, we got to see some of it, but this one we got way more. There's mysterious talking cats, there's sibling bonds, there's fae, there's all sorts of fun things, and I really enjoyed this one a lot. So that is my answer for a book that features cats. And the final prompt number 10, is It's So Enchanting, a book that features wizards or that features a magical world. So I actually picked two books for this because I couldn't choose which one I wanted to go with, so I just picked them both. They're both 12 Dancing Princesses retellings. I love the 12 Dancing Princesses. It's one of my favorite fairy tales, and no matter what authors do with it, I always love seeing what's different, what's the same, depending on which story you read. But one thing that's pretty much always the same is the magical underground mysterious world where there's gold and silver trees and like the magic dancing stuff. Like, all of that stuff seems pretty universal because it is a pretty big part of the original fairy tale. So I went with two of my favorite 12 Dancing Princesses retellings, and those are Princess of the Midnight Ball by Jessica Day George and Entwined by Heather Dixon. These are both gorgeous covers. They look very similar, and there's certain similarities, like I said, but they're very different in the way that the retelling is told. In both of these, though, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, we follow the oldest of the 12, which is really interesting. In the original fairy tale, I feel like the oldest of the 12 is not a great person, but I love that retellings either tend to go with the oldest or the youngest, and I think that seems right. So anyway, Princess of the Midnight Ball follows Rose. She is the oldest of the 12, as I said. We have actually two perspectives in this book now that I'm thinking about it. We have Rose, and we also have Galen, who is a soldier who has recently come back from like the war front. Rose and her sisters inherited a curse from their mother, which basically means that every night they are whisked away to this underground magical world. They don't really understand how it works or why, but every night they're whisked away there to dance at this midnight ball. So the king has basically decided something needs to be done. My daughters are suffering, and they keep coming, you know, back exhausted from every night. Every night they wake up exhausted. It's really weird. They're going through shoes like mad. I don't understand what's going on. So he basically puts out this proclamation that like whoever can solve the mystery gets to be the next heir to the throne, I think, or like gets to marry one of the daughters and potentially be king someday. Enter Galen, who isn't really interested in getting the throne, but he has been gifted this like cloak of invisibility and all these super cool things by this mysterious old woman who basically is like, take these, go save the princesses. So Galen does. He gets a job as the gardener at the palace and falls in love with Rose along the way. They're super adorable. I love this book. I love the trilogy. I honestly haven't read the third book in a really long time. The second book is Cinderella, and the third book is Red Riding Hood meets Robin Hood. But this one in particular was always my favorite, and it's a magical story. I loved it so much. It's like a middle grade YA, like upper middle grade, younger YA, and it's so much fun. And then we have Entwined, which honestly I don't remember as much about. It's been a longer time since I've read this one, but we follow Azalea, who again is the oldest of 12 princesses. They have recently lost their mother, and the king has gone deep into mourning. Like, no one is allowed to sing, no one is allowed to dance. Like, it is just, it's sad. Everywhere in the kingdom is sad. Until one day Azalea stumbles upon a way to summon the Keeper, and he offers them a chance to come to his like magical midnight garden where they can dance the night away and be happy for a bit. And of course, obviously, not all is as it seems, and it gets really intense and adventurous right towards the end. Super fun, full of twists. I loved all of the sisters in here. This one I remember being really interesting. I do want to read it again soon. But yeah, super magical, super fun. Has to do with like a magical underground world garden. Both of them do. I just thought it was fun. So that is it for this All Hallows Eve book tag. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in a comment down below if you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm not going to tag anybody because it is practically Halloween, but if you want to do this tag, feel free to say that I tagged you and let me know in a comment down below if you post your video. Thank you again to Lydia for tagging me and for creating this super fun tag. I will link her video down in the description. You should go and watch it. It's super fun. She picked the White Witch for a witch, and I would have done that if she hadn't already done it, but like, great choice. 10 out of 10. I will link her video as well as Amber's and Nicole's down in the description below. They're super fun. You should go and check them out. And with that, I'm going to sign off. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe down below for more Disney and bookish magic, and I will see you next time. Bye!